Hello, my name is Dawn Schnettler. I'm a data analyst at FMI Compensation. I'll be walking you through our online interactive survey reporting tool. You can access the online tool with any web browser. I've clicked on Safari, but you will go to the site https://www.fminet.com/FMI Compensation. This will bring you to a login screen. You will only receive a username and password once you have purchased a survey, and then once we have also received your data and we have verified that that your form was filled out to the best of your ability and that we have all the information we need. You will receive your username and password and you will be able to log in. I want to show you this full screen button right here. I use this a lot just to kind of clean up the view of what I'm looking at. In case you wanted to show this or present this to anyone else in your company, this might be the way you want to go so that you don't have to see all your bookmarks or any tabs that you have open. Just gives you a more presentation feel. So on this landing page, which is the first thing you will come to when you log in, you will, I want to draw your attention to three areas. The first area is this box to the left, this gray, two-tone gray box that has the surveys that your company has purchased at the top, and then surveys that we do offer but that you have not purchased at the bottom, and they might not apply to your industry or business, but they're there for you to see. If you click on them, you can view a sample of those reports, and you could contact the account executive associated with your region. So if you click on a survey that you've purchased, you'll see a box pop up next to it to the right, and this is a list of all the reports inside that survey. So this is the first piece that I wanted to show you, is your list of surveys and then all the reports contained within them. We'll step through each of these through the demonstration, but I want to move on to the second part of the landing page that I want to draw your attention to, and that's in the middle. And this will be our area for kind of hot topics. So there might be an article here that has some really good analysis done, or trends that have been found based on our data. And also in this area, we want to highlight any new changes coming in the system so that you're aware, like of a new report that we may be working on, or a new feature that you have requested that we are also working on. We want to post that here in the middle for you so that you know what's coming, but then also if it's maybe been a month or two since you've logged into the system, if you log back in, you can see some things that may have already changed. Maybe there was a report that was added up here, and we can highlight that in the middle of the screen for you. The third part of the landing page that I want to show you is kind of this information section. So throughout the tool, I'll show you the use of something that's called tooltips. And this little box that appears when I hover over the mouse, or I'm sorry, over the icon, is called a tooltip. That just gives you some additional information. There's the email address for contacting an account executive, and also how to get your hands on a sample report. Also a little bit about how to navigate the page, the surveys that you purchased are in light gray, etc. So this might be an area where we would put, again, some information, something to help you navigate the page better or just know more about the site. So moving into these other reports, I'm just going to go back down to a regular size screen. And if I click on this demographics report, you notice that a second tab pops up. And this will have that report that I just clicked on in it. So you won't be in the same tab, but a second one will pop open for you. So I'm going to full screen this just so that we can clean it up a little bit. So this is our demographics report. And this, we put everything into the online system that we had in our previous static PDF format surveys, but we've made it a lot more dynamic and interactive. So you can view all of the participants that participated that year, but and the number that participated, but you can also toggle between years, so you can see who participated the year prior, etc. Moving through the tabs at the top. So again, notice that there are some tabs at the top. Inside of each report, there might be multiple dashboards. Make sure you're looking for those tabs because you might miss some great information. Again, the survey title, will be at the top just so that you don't forget what data you're looking at. If you remember on the landing page, we clicked construction professional first, and then we were looking at demographics. So this will tell you what exactly you're looking at so you don't forget. This is, I'm going to go back to full screen. This is just demographic information. So this is just the number of incumbents that are reporting by state. And the legend at the bottom can quickly show you the smallest and highest number of incumbents per state. You can also at the bottom see some interesting revenue, like the companies broken out by revenue range and their sizes as well. You can go between years just to give you an idea. And if you hover over anything, so we see Tennessee in the middle of the country, doesn't have any numbers on it, but when I hover, I can see that information. So again, these tool tips are very useful. If you're presenting or if you're just looking at it yourself and you can't see a piece of data, hover over it and chances are we've built that into where it'll show you the information you're looking for. The map, a couple of ways to move around the map. If you click on this little arrow, this will show you kind of some different tools that you have at your use. So these crosshairs right here, the pan, this just allows you to move the map around. If you click on the zoom area, this will allow you to zoom into a certain area. And if you click on the rectangle, it looks like a similar tool, but it doesn't zoom, it just selects. So there's a couple of different functionalities with these tools in here in the map. And if you kind of get to somewhere, maybe you're in the middle of the Pacific and you don't know how you got out there and you want to get back to looking at the United States, you can always hit the home button and it'll zoom you back to the restart. You just click outside of it, that deselects. That's just one way to kind of use the map. There's several maps throughout our system. Moving on to the next tab. So we've just got some more demographic information so you can see the breakdown of companies and their primary activity, their business entity, whether or not they're public or private. And then again, if you hover, we have more information in the tooltip than what's on the screen. So this will show you, oh yeah, this is 2017 survey year, and then the percent number of companies. This is some comparison information between the previous year. So going back to my landing page, when I click on a second report, I'm not going to have another tab that opens. This tab that's already opened is going to reload with the report that I clicked on. So you only have to worry about jumping back and forth between these two tabs. You won't have multiple things opening and then not being able to remember where you were at. So if you click information, you'll see this tab loads. And this is just a breakdown of our methodology. So you can see how things are calculated. This is an explanation of our box and whisker plot. So I will go into an example of this later on, but to explain it now, because some people really want to dig in and understand what they're looking at, obviously, which is great. And so I want to kind of clear a couple things up because this can be a little confusing. So as it's shown on the methodology page, we remove any outliers that are outside of 3 standard deviations from the mean of any sample set of data for any survey title in a given year. So that is different than these little circles up here on a box and whisker plot, these are called outliers, but FMI will filter out outliers that are outside of 3 standard deviations, and they will not be in the data set. So these circles that you're seeing above this line are not technically outliers in our sense, but they're just kind of extreme values. And we wanted to leave these in here so that you can see, the user can see exactly where kind of the weight of the data is falling and what might be tipping the scale and what might be a value that's a little outside of a normal range, but is still within 3 standard deviations. So again, some of the terminology in this box and whisker plot, all the circles or dots above or below these long lines right here, those are called extreme values, or as box and whisker plot calls them, outliers. And those are values that are outside of 1.5 times the interquartile range. So a box plot is broken up into quartiles actually. This center gray box, the two-tone box, this is the interquartile range. This is the 75th percentile, or in other terminology, the upper hinge. And the bottom of this box is the 25th percentile, or the lower hinge. The center line that says average is the average or the mean. But then where the 2 gray boxes meet, that is actually the median, or the 50th percentile. So the difference between the 75th and the 25th multiplied by 1.5 will give you your maximum value, or your upper whisker, and it will also give you your minimum value, or your lower whisker. Any values outside of that are considered, again, extreme values, not outliers in the standard deviation sense, but outliers in the interquartile range sense. And anything you see on the screen, whether it's a dashboard or just a static piece of information like this, you will be able to print it to a PDF so that you can share that with other people at your company or put it into a presentation. And moving to the definitions tab, this just kind of shows you all the states that are in our regions as we've defined them. And also at the bottom, the glossary. So if you click this drop down, you see there's a list of terms. You can scroll through the terms and click one you want. If the list seems really big and you know exactly what you want to go in for, you can type it in to the box and then select it. And you'll notice that the definition does pop up at the bottom. The position report is probably the heart of each one of these surveys. This is going to give you the ability to do the most slicing and dicing of the data. And this is where we know the most value will be added for you as the user, because you now have the ability to do what was previously called special cuts of the data, and what might have cost a lot of money or took a lot of time, you can now do on your own with as much freedom as you would like. So we have, if you get to a screen and maybe like the survey title doesn't make sense or everything is blank, a lot of times that's just because you've got something selected that probably doesn't belong. So not you, but the system has just landed on that value for some reason. So if we click the drop down for survey title, we see all the survey titles that are for construction professional, which is what we clicked on originally. So if I go in here and I choose, let's look at project management level 3. So I see for the 2017 survey year, had 102 companies report on project management level 3, and I had 3,000 incumbents in that survey title. But now the capabilities that the user has are that you can look at multiple years of data. So you can go back and look at prior years, make any comparisons. You can choose, again, any survey title you would like, but you can also slice by not only one revenue range, but you can slice by multiple revenue ranges. So let's look at let's just do 1 billion and above. And we'll stay at 1 billion to 3 billion for now. But you can multi-select different revenue ranges. And then the count of companies will, and the incumbents will adjust as you slice the data, and it'll obviously get less and less. Same with the percentiles that you see on the screen. FMI policy is that if we don't have at least 5 companies reporting on a survey title, then we will not report on that piece of data. So I need at least 5 companies to report for the 40th, 50th, and 60th percentile, as well as the mean. And then I need at least 7 companies to report on the 75th and 25th, and then at least 9 to report on the 90th and the 10th percentile. The compensation types are listed here on the left-hand side. So as you look down the dashboard, you can see all the different pieces that will apply to this survey title. So we've got some short-term incentive information in here, bonuses, commission, then the total cash. We also have our salary ranges and broken out by percentile. And then bonus as a percent of base, target bonus percentage for short-term incentives, and then the bonus weights. So how much of your bonus weight is going for the project, and then how much is on the company or the division. And you can see that the job description for this title is at the bottom as well. So moving through the filters, again, industry, we can multi-select more than one industry if we wish. And the region name, let's choose something in the south. And let's look at Florida. You notice my count of companies is getting smaller and smaller, and I needed at least 5 to report on certain pieces of my data. So we've had a couple of natural disasters in the past year and a lot in the South. This area in particular, probably Miami, will be an area where there's going to be a lot of rebuilding and a lot of construction going on. This might be an area that you want to zoom into and focus on for your company. But you notice that once you get down to this MSA level, our number of companies went down to 2, and I have a flag that popped up and it says insufficient data. So this will let you know if what you're looking at on the screen, just hasn't loaded yet, like previously when we got to this page and there was a different survey title selected. But if you see insufficient data, then you know that there's just not enough to report. The screen is blank because you have sliced the data too thin. But if you're still very interested in Miami, Florida, you can play around with the other filters to kind of see different things that you would like. So, if I wanted to kind of open up my revenue ranges to get some more companies in there, maybe add 1 or 2, or just take this filter off altogether, you can click that filter button. That'll take it off, and it'll just have all selected. And you can see I've got at least 5. I can still see some information relating to Miami, Florida. If I were to add more industries or choose a different one, then maybe more companies would show up. And you can play around with the different combinations of filters as you wish. Bonus status, that's just for if the person in the survey title earned a bonus or not. And then also the constant population, if the person in the survey title or not, or in the survey title was in their position in the previous year or not. Class and project description, these are for the engineering survey. We use the same report that you're looking at for the engineering survey as well. It just has different survey titles. So these don't apply to the construction professional survey, and they'll just have null in there. So you can't break it. Just know that you can click around on anything that you would like, and you will not be able to break it. We are here for you if you need any help or would like a demo done for someone in your company. We have recordings like this one, but you can also get a live demo set up with our account executives as well. They would be more than happy to walk you through that. Also, after you make all of your filter selections, as I said, you will be able to download this report as a PDF, and you can also download a cross-tab or Excel version of the data that you're looking at after you've made all of your slices. You can see kind of a bigger version of all the data in what we previously sent out as a big Excel spreadsheet. You'll still have access to that same look and feel report. It's called the Excel report. We'll get there. But the geographic report, this one is numerically, it's the same numbers as on the previous, like the position report, because it's just giving you average base, but it is more graphical for those of you that, not just maps, but if you like to see graphs and charts versus cross-tab or tabular data. So again, we have a survey title selected that we don't want. So if we go in here, let's look at Project Superintendent Level 2. Okay, so I can see that for this survey title, I'm looking at average base right now, but I can choose different compensation elements. So I could look at bonus, STI, or total cash. When I hover over the different regions, so the reason this map is a little off to the side is because Hawaii is included in this survey title being reported. If I hover over a region, it'll tell me the region name and then the national average, but then the average for that region, so you can have a quick comparison. It'll also give you the number of companies and the number of employees per region reporting for that survey title. And that national average 103.3, that'll stick obviously as you move through the different regions. In Hawaii, we had 14 employees and 5 companies reporting. And if I go into again, you have the same flexibilities with all of your filters as on the position report. So you can choose different region names. You can choose different revenue ranges. Industries, again, bonus status, constant population. We use this specific dashboard that you're looking at, the geography report. We use it for most all of our surveys. So we've got a filter in here that applies to the executive survey. Again, if it doesn't apply to the survey title you're looking at or the survey title, the survey that you've clicked on, it'll just be null. It'll still show up, it just won't have anything in it. Same with class, all engineering. So quickly, looking at your screen, as I told you on the demographics report, this value, average value at the bottom of the screen will quickly show you what's the highest and lowest numbers on your screen. Going through the tabs at the top again, you click a different one now. Going through the tabs at the top, you can see we've got it broken down to state level and then also MSA. And again, you'll have the same information in the tooltip there. And you can type in this box as well, as we mentioned. Go back to that project superintendent. So again, Hawaii is out here. If I zoom in, so if my zoom, this button right here just kind of gives me a mainland zoom. And if I want to move around the screen, I can use that button. So if I hover over the different MSAs, I can still see that national average of 103.3 and the number of companies reporting and employees in that MSA. And you can get the name of it as well. Also, the legend at the bottom will quickly show you what the highest and lowest values are on your screen. The historical trends, this is where we will see the box and whisker plots. We hope to get the box and whisker plots onto the position reports as well. but so far this is the spot for them. I'm going to look at, so again, this is a survey title that was selected that just isn't in the construction professional survey. So I'm going to click the one that I want. So let's look at project field engineer level 2. I'll leave revenue ranges on all for now. Let's look at oil and gas. And if I wanted to, instead of clicking West and then the state, if I knew exactly what state I wanted to go into, I can do that right away. Let's look at Texas. Oil and gas is obviously big in Texas. And when I chose Texas, my region obviously filled in with West, as it would be. So looking at the information on your screen, you have year-over-year data, but you notice we don't have any information for 2015. So we maybe didn't get enough information in this specific slice of the data to report. So that would be why you might not see a year at the bottom. You might not see a year in a certain dropdown on a different report. This might not be available for the slice of the data that you're looking for. And again, we're always welcome, or we're always happy to answer any questions that you have. So if you don't see something that you think you should see, just give us a call. You can, again, choose different compensation types that you're wanting to look at. And that'll show you at the top so you don't forget, is this base or bonus? It'll say real bold and big at the top for you what exactly you're looking at. Again, this is where the box and whisker plot kind of comes into play. Unfortunately, I can't alter what pops up in this specific tooltip that is associated with the box and whisker plots, which is why I wanted to show you these other terms. The upper whisker and the upper hinge, lower hinge and lower whisker. I can't change those, but I wanted to tell you what those were. So the upper whisker, again, is the 75th, or I'm sorry, the upper whisker is this one up here. So this is like our maximum value, and that's a value that is the highest, but it's within 1.5 times our inner quartile range. So that's our upper whisker. Our upper hinge is the 75th percentile. Our median is the 50th, where the 2 gray boxes meet. Our lower hinge is the 25th percentile, and then the lower whisker is the minimum value that is still within 1.5 times the inner quartile range. Okay, moving on. On the automobile report, we broke down any information or data that pertains to vehicles. So we've got gas cards, auto allowance, and then vehicles provided. This report's just a little bit different in that you can select multiple survey titles. You could select an entire job family if you wish, or any combination of survey titles that you want. You can choose the different piece of data that you want to look at. So like I said, auto allowance, vehicles provided, gas cards provided. And then you can also look at different survey years if you wanted to compare. The way to read these charts is the one on the top is the number of companies providing. The one on the bottom is the number of employees receiving the specific piece of data that you have selected at the top. So right now we're looking at gas cards. So I've got number of companies that are providing gas cards. So I've got 89 that reported on project management level 1, but only 25 companies were providing gas cards to those employees. And similarly at the bottom, you can see how many employees there were total in that survey title, and then how many were receiving the gas cards. If you go to the next tab, as we had said previously, we have to have at least 5 companies reporting to give an average of something. So I want to explain on this page, you'll also see this in the Excel report that I'm about to show you. but I have for every survey title, the number of companies that reported, and then the number of companies that provided the piece of data. In this case, we can only look at auto allowance for an average. So that's the only piece of this report is auto allowance. And then a percentage, and then same things with the incumbents. So the number of incumbents, and then the number receiving the auto allowance. So unless this number is 5 or greater, I won't have an average over here on the far right column. And again, that's how we've set up a lot of the Excel reports. So you'll see the number of companies, but then the actual number of companies that gave that piece of data. Going to the Excel report. Another thing I wanted to point out, this is definitely an iterative process, and we want to continually make our system better for you, the user, because you are going to be using this and making business decisions, and we want those to be made and come to those decisions with the most data in mind that you can make a sound decision with. And so we want to continually improve this, and we always look for your feedback. And for example, all these blank spaces here, that's just room for more reports that we can build. And if anything is coming or in the works, you'll see it down here in this kind of hot topics area. Just as a side note. So this is that Excel spreadsheet that I was talking about that is still available to download. So you've got all the different tabs at the top, which I'm not going to go through. There's a lot of data here, and it would take a long time for each to load. But I wanted to show you the number of companies and employees, as we said. So for this first piece of data, like this column right here, is just base. So every building information modeler level 1 got a base. So we had 30 companies reporting and 176 employees. And that same number of companies and employees received and provided a base. But if you keep going down the row, we get to bonus. So actually 23 of those 30 companies provided a bonus, and 144 of the 176 received a bonus. And that pattern continues all across. As you look at each compensation element, you will get that breakdown as well. One thing I did want to show you in something like the constant population is that you'll see the yeses and the nos on the same line. So for SIM level 1, you'll have your population that was not constant on one line, and then you'll have the population that was on the line below. And then also for bonus earners and non-bonus earners, same thing. So you can make your quick comparisons. Also, you can select, you can multi-select. So if I click 2016, it will load right beneath this one, and then this scroll bar would just get smaller, and you can still scroll and scroll and scroll, and you would see 2016 pop up over here so that you would know. Couple more things I want to show you. As I told you, like one of the main differences between a lot of these reports in the construction professional and the ones in the engineering are just the survey titles. So if I go into the position report, it's that same dashboard, but when I click the survey title dropdown, it's going to have a whole different set of survey titles that only pertain to the engineering survey. So as you can see, this one was still kind of set on the last one that was selected, but if you open this up, you can see all the different positions. And same with executive. As we said, you can go into the position report and see a lot more positions. Also, what you get is with the construction professional and the engineering survey, we don't collect long-term incentive information, but we do collect short-term incentive. For executive, however, we do collect long-term compensation. So we've got those pieces over here as well. So this is long-term incentive, we've got stock awards, etc. And then the levels from CEO. So this is a filter that only applies to this survey. Some other reports within the executive survey that are not in the other ones, like I said, long-term incentive practices. So we will be working continuously to try and make everything interactive, but then loads fast and has great performance for you. And so we will constantly be trying to improve everything and moving from that flat PDF format into this new interactive, online, always on system. So you can choose the different long-term incentive type that you would like, and you can see that information there. You can also see just some more reports. Again, these were flatter static reports that we had in our old survey, and we're still going to be trying to look for ways to make them visually more interesting, but also informative and interactive. And in case you're wondering, to read this chart, this is long-term incentive objectives. So out of the 32 companies that reported providing long-term incentives, the objective was to retain employees. We have board of directors information in our executive survey as well. These are pretty similar to the static PDF forms of the surveys. So again, we will be looking at many ways to improve these and make them a lot more interactive, but you can still print to a PDF and kind of get all the information that you had before. Excel reports, same thing for executives. And then proxy data. So this is all information that is already public. We would never share your company's information in this system whatsoever. This is, however, proxy data. So again, it is public information already available online. But we would never do this for a client who submitted any data. Your information is very secure and only available to you. In this dropdown, again, this is public information, so you can see the company you can choose that you want to look at, and then it'll have their positions over here and a breakdown at the bottom. If you hover over it, you can get a little bit more information as you see. And you can toggle between different positions as well in the C-suite. CFO, CEO, and so forth. That concludes my explanation and demonstration of the online system. We really hope that you have seen the value that this can add to your organization and to your decision-making process. And we feel that this will put you ahead of your competition. It is always updated. So as we get new clients, new companies that want to participate in the surveys throughout the year, we don't have hard deadlines anymore for if you've missed a survey. We do stick to payroll dates so that there's a commonality between the data you're looking at, but a company can submit at any time during the year as long as they're following the same payroll date. So if you log in, you have access to the system and you log in March and you see 30 companies, in a couple of weeks or maybe a couple months, you might see 30 more. That would be the goal. We would want to grow and grow and grow. So I would say continually log into the system, look for updates here, look for things that are coming, and don't be afraid to give us any feedback or to ask any questions if you're confused or would like another demo. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate your interest in FMI compensation surveys.